from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello there, a warm welcome to the news from the National News Studios. Joining with me tonight at the bulletin is Charita Minipura Arachi. First off, we take a look at the top stories tonight.
100,000 gas cylinders issued to the market today. An art school in Ukraine's Mariupol town comes under Russian attack. A special economic center opened in Jaffna, Odduville. JVP challenges Sajid to reveal the way to purchase oil from Middle East. International airline services will commence from Ratmalana Airport on the 27th. Fisheries and naval communities informed not to sail into Southeast Bay of Bengal area. Temperature in Antarctica increased to record levels.
Well, starting off with local news updates, the Litro Gas Company has released 100,000 gas cylinders to the market, and at the same time the Public Utilities Commission has mentioned that there will be a 7 hours power cut tomorrow.
Litro Gas Company said that more than 100,000 gas cylinders were issued to the market yesterday as well. 80,000 gas cylinders have been issued on the 18th. Meanwhile, Love's Gas Company has increased their price. Accordingly, the new price of a 2 kg gas cylinder is 672 rupees. The new price of a 5 kg gas cylinder is 1,680 rupees, while a 12.5 kg gas cylinder is 4,199 rupees. The new price of a 37.5 kg gas cylinder is 12,300 rupees. Meanwhile, there will be a power interruption of 4.5 hours in P, Q, R, S, T, U, V and W areas today. Public Utilities Commission said that a power cut of 5 hours has been imposed on other areas. Meanwhile, consumers charge that there is a shortage of imported milk powder. However, traders said that there are sufficient stocks of milk powder with them under new prices.
From local stories, we're going to deviate a bit and take a look at the current situation in Ukraine. And we have a report on a recent attack which has taken place in Ukraine.
Yes, Sharifa, and it is the 25th day of that we deal with the Ukraine-Russia war, and bombing an art school with a recent incident and using hypersonic missiles. There are certain consequences of this devastating war, and this update is about the Ukraine-Russian war. An art school in Mariupol sheltering about
that women, children and elderly people were inside are still under the rubble of the destroyed art school in the city's left bank district. The number of casualties was unclear. Reports have further said that in his late-night broadcast, Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that the siege of Mariupol would go down in history of responsibility for war crimes. Some 400,000 people have been trapped in Mariupol for more than 2 weeks, sheltering from heavy bombardment that has severed central supplies of electricity, heating and water, according to Ukrainian authorities. They have further alleged that thousands of residents of Mariupol have been taken to Russia against their will, where they have been redirected to remote cities in the country. Kyiv officials have reported that 228 people, including 4 children, have been killed in Ukraine's capital. Ukraine reported that 14,400 Russian personnel have been killed since the start of the war. The UK Ministry of Defence has said that Russia had still failed to gain control of the skies over Ukraine. According to UN data, almost 3.4 million people have fled the conflict, which has been raging for more than 3 weeks, with more than 2 million taken in by neighboring Poland, close to 530,000 by Romania, and over 362,000 by Moldova. Some 6.5 million are estimated to be internally displaced in the country. The United Nations maintains at least 847 civilians killed from the conflict. The Ukraine government has said 7 humanitarian corridors would open today to enable civilians to leave frontline areas. Ukraine has evacuated a total of 190,000 people from such areas. Scores of Ukrainian soldiers are feared to have been killed after an attack on a military barracks recently. About 200 soldiers were sleeping in the barracks when 3 Russian missiles hit the base on the northern edge of Mykolaiv, foreign reports have indicated. Some 57 injured people were being treated in hospitals, according to reports. There are no official casualty figures. In the meantime, Russia has used its newest Kinzhal hypersonic missiles for the first time in Ukraine to destroy a weapon storage site in the country's west. International sanctions have been imposed during the Russia-Ukrainian war by a large number of countries against Russia. Poland has proposed that the European Union implement a total ban on trade with Russia. Australia has expanded its sanctions against Russia over the war in Ukraine, banning all exports of alumina and bauxite in a bid to limit Moscow's capacity to produce aluminium. Australia expected to donate 70,000 tons of thermal coal to Ukraine following a request from the besieged nation. In recent weeks, Australia has approved nearly 5,000 visas from Ukrainians displaced by the conflict. Pope Francis visited Ukrainian children who fled the invasion and are being treated at the Vatican's pediatric hospital yesterday. Pope Francis has denounced Russia's repugnant war against Ukraine as a cruel and sacrilegious inhumanity. An estimated 1.5 million children have fled Ukraine since the Russian invasion began, UNICEF said in a statement yesterday.
And meanwhile, the Prime Minister has made a recent visit to Jaffna, and we have an update with regard to the recent events that took place.
Yes, Charita, the Special Economic Centre built in Jaffna, Ottawa, opened today under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The Special Economic Centre has been built with the aim of giving a fair price to the produce of farmers and to enable the public to purchase vegetables and fruits at concessionary prices. The government has spent 200 million rupees to build the Special Economic Centre. The Prime Minister was warmly welcomed by the people in Jaffna, Ottawa area. Thereafter, the Prime Minister opened the Special Economic Centre by unveiling the commemorative plaque. The vegetables and fruits needed by the centre will be provided from Batula Economic Centre and Jaffna Market. The Special Economic Centre is consisted of 20 trade stalls. After opening the centre, the Prime Minister exchanged views with the business community. The Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that there was a big connection in the 1970s between people in Jaffna and Colombo. When Mrs. Sirima Bandaranayake came to Jaffna, people in Jaffna welcomed her by laying pavada made out of chilies. There were occasions where they were welcomed by loosening hair. Mrs. Bandaranayake did not step on chilies laid by the farmers. Most of the Tamil parliamentarians at that time stayed more in Colombo, travelled between Jaffna and Colombo by train. Government servants working in Colombo went to Jaffna by train on weekends. That era ended suddenly after 1980. Rail track to Jaffna was broken. Yaldevi from north to south was stopped. Yaldevi train was considered as a cultural bridge which connected north and south. Northern people start losing their freedom. North became a bunker. Although there was a land to live, they had to live in other areas and as refugees in other countries, as they could not live there. The dark era prevailed for 30 years. Northern people lost their right to live and development during that era. We gave back freedom to the people in the north. Yaldevi train connected the north and south again. The provincial council was established again in the north. The work done by us was stopped after 2015. A project called Reconciliation was introduced. The provincial council established by removing emergency laws was dissolved by the good government. Jaffna did not get a single road or electricity project during the time of the good governance government. If correctly said, the entire country did not get, but billions of rupees were spent on a reconciliation project and on songs about peace. Development activities and the measures to build civilian life, which was stopped after 2015, will be commenced again.
ජන ජීවිතය ගොඩනගන්න කටයුතු අපි ආරම්භ කරන බව ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා. නා මුංගලේ මරක්ක මාට්ටුම් කයිවිල මාට්ටුම්.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa looked into the present situation of the Kankesanture cement factory belonging to the Cement Corporation, which was closed due to the war. The factory was opened in 1950 and closed in 1990. Although 728 acres were under the factory, most of the area has become a habitat at present. According to a cabinet decision, it was scheduled to keep the buildings that can be used the future development of the factory and to destroy the other buildings. During the inspection tour of the Prime Minister, it was revealed that 80% of the buildings can be renovated and used. Accordingly, the government has proposed and rebuilt the Kankesanture cement factory. A group of people, including MP Angajan Ramanathan, joined the inspection tour. Thereafter, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa visited Mavidapuran Kandasamy Kovil and took part in religious rituals. Chief priest of the Kovil, Ratna Sabhapati Kurukkal, conducted a special puja invoking blessings on the Prime Minister. A memento was also presented to the Prime Minister. The new Sanghavasa building of the Jaffna Navakuliya Samidhi Sumana temple was vested with the Sangha yesterday under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. It was built by the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs. Sri Lanka Army has provided the labour. After vesting the building with the Sangha, the Prime Minister handed over nutritious sacks to 50 pregnant mothers in the area. Thereafter, housing deeds were given to 36 recipients of Navakuli Housing Project of the National Housing Development Authority. The Mahasangha, including Adhikarana Sanghanayaka of Udarata Amarapura Mahanikaya, Venerable Uduwala Sumedha Thera, and Chief Sanghanayaka of Udarata Amarapura Mahanikaya, Jaffna Navakuliya Samidhi Sumana Temple's Chief Prelate, Venerable Hangwalle Ratnasiri Thera, chanted Set Pirit. A group of people, including State Minister Vidura Vikramanayaka, were present on the occasion. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa called over the chief of the Jaffna Sri Nagavihara International Buddhist Centre, Venerable Megaha Jandure Sirivimala Thera. The Prime Minister exchanged views with him. The Prime Minister attended to the religious practices of Jaffna Sri Nagavihara International Buddhist Centre and handed over school stationery for students of 50 families of low-income recipients in the area. The Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs has sponsored it with the coordination of Sri Lanka Army. The Prime Minister paid his last respects to the former Administrative Secretary of SLFP, S.H. Aryasena today. Late Minister Aryasena worked for a long time as the Administrative Secretary of SLFP headquarters and rendered an immense service by cordially working with the members. A group of people, including State Minister Indika Anuruddha, were present on the occasion.
And moving to more local stories, Samagi Janabalawege MP Mujibur Rahman says that activist at present shows that Sri Lanka Freedom Party does not have a clear program. He mentioned this during a media briefing in Colombo today. SJB MP Mujibur Rahman said that they cannot see any vision in SLFP. They criticized the government by holding meetings, summits, but go back and support the activities of the government by sitting in the cabinet. Support the government activities in parliament as well. We brought a large number of people to Colombo and commenced opposing the government. We will continue to take forward an anti-government struggle. It is a challenge to get power at present. We are prepared to face the challenge on behalf of the country and the people.
In the meantime, JVP MP Vijita Herath says that Samagi Janabalawege, led by Sajith Premadasa, is providing humour to the country. He mentioned this in connection with a statement given by Mr. Sajith Premadasa, stating that only he could get oil from Middle East countries. JVP MP Vijitha Herath said that if opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says that oil can be obtained, ambassadors of Middle East countries should explain about it. He said that statement of Mr. Sajid Premadasa is a joke. People in the country will not get misled by that.
And meanwhile, Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage says that present government will rule the country during the next 5 years as well. And the minister said steps have been taken to build the country, which is paralyzed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected the world over. The minister mentioned this during Sri Lanka Podujana Perabuna Navalapitiya Youth Balamandala meeting. A large group of young men and women attended the meeting, which was held due to the participation of State Minister Kanchana Wijayasekara and D.V. Chanaka. Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage said that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa guaranteed to the people that COVID pandemic would be controlled in the country. Some groups in the country think that the government will collapse within the accusations are leveled. None of them can bring down the government. The people have not forgotten the activities of those who are criticizing the government at present. Despite protests and obstacles, the country will be taken forward during the next 5 years. The measures taken due to the COVID pandemic will be met on behalf of the people within the next few years.
We now have a feature produced by the President's Media Division on a country which is being built amid challenges, and that's the feature we have for you right now. 4 flyover projects were implemented by the government and it's being looked at today. Main roads are obstructed due to train tracks across them. As a solution, flyover projects are being constructed across rail tracks which obstruct the roads. 4 projects have been launched at present. Project engineer DPA Amarasinghe said that it has been named as Slave Island Flyover Project. It is being built under the supervision of the Road Development Authority and it is 721 meters long. It will begin from Nava Mawatha and go above 2 rail tracks and come down at Justice Akbar Mawatha. Although it is a 3-year project, it is expected to be completed within 1 year. It is being done entirely with local funds. Another 4 projects are being implemented under our supervision. One of them is the flyover bridge across Beara Lake on Baladaksha Mawatha. Apart from that, 2 flyover bridges are being built at Kohubala and Gatambe with foreign funds. The flyover projects which are being built, minimizing vehicle congestion, accidents and saving public funds will be vested with the people soon. The road development revolution is a major strength to the country which is being built amidst the challenges. Well, Yemen has been experiencing a food crisis for the past few weeks and we do certainly have an update on this regard, isn't it, Charitha?
Yes, Sharifa, and this is one of the worst humanitarian crises that the world and the Yemen is dealing with, and according to the United Nations also they say that already they are suffering from a dire hunger crisis teetering on the edge of an outright catastrophe. And the UN agencies have also said that 17.4 million people are in need of this food assistance and growing proportion of the population coping with emergency levels of hunger. 3 out of 4 Yemenians will depend on food assistance in 2022. United Nations says aiming to raise funds for the war-torn country across Yemen. 2.2 million children are acutely malnourished, including nearly more than 500 million children facing severe acute malnutrition, a life-threatening condition. An additional 1.6 million people in the country are expecting to fall into the emergency levels of hunger, taking to the total to 7.3 million people by the end of the year. The agencies added the conflict remains the primary underlying driver hunger in Yemen. And we are moving to further stories. The government has taken steps to provide concessions to airline companies that commence flights from Ratmalana Airport. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that a cabinet paper to produce airport tax by 50% charge from those airlines was presented for the cabinet approval. It will be implemented for 1 year commencing on the 27th. After 55 years, plans have been drawn up to commence international flights from Ratmalani International Airport on the 27th. The Maldivian airline company and a Sri Lankan private airline company first have already agreed to the plan. Earlier, the reduction of airport tax at Ratmalani Airport was implemented for 1 year from 1st of October 2020. According to the new proposal, airlines which commence flights from Ratmalani Airport will be charged only $32 out of $60. The government has planned to popularize the Nave Airport as a destination for low budgets. Feasibility has been identified for regional operations from the airport. Civil Aviation Services Authority has airport and aviation services company have provided the funds. The government has taken steps to develop Ratmalani International Airport under 5 main sectors. It is scheduled to be developed as a local air service center, an entertainment air service center, and as an airline training center. Apart from that, it will be used to promote to attract private planes targeting high-income individuals and to provide technical services and fuel for airlines. And recently, there was a discussion took place between the Foreign Affairs Minister Professor Jill Pires and Chinese Ambassador Xi Jinping at the Foreign Ministry. Sri Lanka and China mark 64 years of commencing diplomatic relations and marking 70 years of signing Rice Pact in 1952 by both the countries. The Chinese ambassador presented the foreign minister with the first day card issued in connection with these events. The foreign minister appreciated the support given by the Chinese government to Sri Lanka at the 49th Human Rights Council sessions. The Chinese ambassador said completing the free trade agreement between Sri Lanka and China will help Sri Lanka local market and produce. State Minister Balasuriya and a group of people were present on this occasion.
In the meantime, a new circular will be issued stating that a similar tree should be planted when issuing new tree felling permits. It will come to effect from the 31st of this month. If the same variety of a tree cannot be planted, the permit recipient should plant a variety which has similar qualities and size. Minister Chamal Rajapaksa has instructed Secretary to the State Ministry of Home Affairs NHM Chitrananda to issue the circular. When there is no sufficient space in the recipient's land to plant a tree, the new plant should be planted at a common place as instructed by the Grama Niladhari of the area. When issuing a permit to an entrepreneur, apart from the payment he makes for the permit, the plant variety should be given to the landowner and get it planted. Grama Niladhari and Divisional Secretary should separately maintain lists about the saplings that are being planted. Development officers should also review the process. The review report should be sent to the Ministry of Home Affairs once in every 3 months.
Sharifa, as we all know, leadership is one of the most vital factors needed for the development and betterment of a country and in order to develop the future. And the Youth Leadership Program, which was launched at the Leadership Development National Center recently, more than 250 from the Vavnia University took part in this event. The program was implemented jointly by the National Reconciliation Center and the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The aim of the program is to develop reconciliation and leadership skills.
And in the meantime, Minister Dr. Ramesh Pathirana says that attention has been paid on producing tea, coconut and other crops in various parts of the country. The minister mentioned this while attending the program to introduce a model agriculture forest cultivation pilot project implemented with the support of Netherlands at Battaramula Water's Edge Hotel. Netherlands provides financial assistance to the project. It is being implemented under the supervision of Tea Research Institute, Peradeniya University and Wageningen University of Netherlands. It will be implemented first at a coconut estate belonging to Kurunagala Plantation Company and Gatmo Tea Estate in Muskelia. Minister Ramesh Pathirana said that there will be a revolutionary change in plantation economy during the next 2 to 3 years. The minister said lands have been selected to introduce cultivations and research in being conducted.
And on your weather update, area in the Sea of Bay of Bengal will develop into a low pressure situation and become a cyclonic storm tomorrow. And the Met Department says that the low pressure area in the Sea of Bay of Bengal will develop into a low pressure situation and become a cyclonic storm tomorrow. The department has requested fisheries and naval communities not to sail into the sea area of Bay of Bengal towards southeast. Rains will occur in the sea area from Puttlam to Colombo and up to Gold Coast. Rains or thundershowers are expected in the sea area of Batticaloa to Porterville, where Hambantota in the afternoon or night. Strong winds can occur temporarily in those areas with thundershowers. The Met Department say that the sea areas can be rough at times. Engineers in charge of Mausakala Reservoir says that the water level of the reservoir is rapidly decreasing. The height of the dam of the reservoir is 135 feet. By this morning, this water level has decreased up to 57. The water remaining in the reservoir is used to generate electricity from Lakshapana and Polpitia power plants. And stay tuned for international news at the other side of this break.
Where words fail, music speaks. Are you ready? For some music from 60s, 70s, 80s and the 90s? Tune into Cafe Classics for a mix of music. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m.
Everybody, let's rock. Everybody in old cell block was dancing to the jailhouse.
Well, in foreign news updates, experts says Antarctica has recorded very high temperatures recently, and this is 30 degrees Celsius above normal.
Eastern Antarctica has recorded exceptionally high temperatures this week, more than 30 degrees Celsius above normal, says experts. The Concordia research base at Dominical Sea of the Antarctic, which is an altitude of 3,000 meters, registered a record minus 11.5 degrees Celsius recently. Normally, temperatures fall with the end of the southern summer, but Antarctica has registered record temperatures for March with 4.9 Celsius at a time of year when normally temperatures are already sub-zero. Experts say they described the unreasonably mild weather as a historic event. The unprecedented temperatures came after Antarctica sea ice fell below 2 million square kilometers in late February for the first time since 1979.
Well, from Antarctica, we move on to Afghanistan, and we have an update with regards to what they're going through right now. Afghanistan is the unhappiest country in the world, even before the Taliban swept to power last August. That is according to a World Happiness Report released before the United Nations designated International Day of Happiness today. The annual report ranked Afghanistan as last among 149 countries surveyed with a happiness rate of just 2.5. Lebanon was the world's second saddest country, with Botswana, Rwanda and Zimbabwe rounding out the bottom 5. Finland ranked first for the fourth year running with a 7.8 score, followed by Denmark and Switzerland, with Iceland and the Netherlands also in the top 5. Researchers ranked the countries after analyzing data over 3 years under several categories, including gross domestic product per capita, social safety nets, life expectancy, freedom to make life choices, generosity of the population and perceptions of internal and external corruption levels.
And moving with more international news, Macau's first satellites to be launched in the end of the year. The Data Center for Science and Application of Macau satellites will be responsible for the processing, analyzing and application of the satellite. The Data Center for Science and Application of Macau satellites inaugurated yesterday. The China Academy of Sciences of National Space Center experts that the new center would become a window for aerospace technology of the country for facing the world. Meanwhile, Macau University of Science and Technology announces the naming of the first scientific satellite of Macau.
And in the meantime, in China, a wild giant panda was spotted yesterday by a patrolman in a nature reserve in southwest China's Sichuan province as the naughty bear was enjoying its spring tour in the landscape. The patrolman came across the wild panda when it was trying to climb up the high mountain. In the footage captured by mobile phone, the healthy panda was having fun in the river, jumping up and down, and after a while the furry bear waded to the shore and faded into the woods.
And meanwhile, the world's biggest spring portrait is unveiled in a subway station in Iran's capital city of Tehran. The world's biggest string portrait is unveiled in a substation in Iran's capital city of Tehran. The artwork contains 8 kilometers of thread and 313 pins was unveiled with the theme of Promised Savior. This piece of string artwork took 4 days to complete. The set of a new record in its time, but due to the sanctions imposed on Iran, the Guinness World Records Institute representatives is yet to arrive in Iran to register the record.
And we now move on to sports news, and we do have a roundup of sporting events, but we're going to start off with beach volleyball.
Sri Lanka men and women's beach volleyball teams qualified for the Commonwealth Games for 2022 by winning the champions at the selection tournament in the Asian region. The tournament took place on Negombo Coast. Men and women's finals were played yesterday. Sri Lankan Maldives qualified for the final round. Malinta Yampa and Ashin Rashmika of Sri Lanka won the match 2-0. The final women's match was played between Sri Lanka and Singapore. Deepika Bandar and Chaturika Madhushani won the match 2-0. Sri Lanka won the first match of Bangla Bandar Group P International Kabaddi Championship. Sri Lanka won the match against Malaysia by 53-26. Sri Lanka played against England today. Sri Lanka won by 44-19. Sri Lanka will play against Bangladesh tomorrow under Group A. The competition is taking place in Bangladesh with the participation of 8 countries.
Michael Wellington, ইংল্যান্ডের রেড 17-5 পয়েন্টের লিড শ্রীলঙ্কার মাইকেল ওয়েলিংটন মিড লাইনে ফিরে গিয়েছিল
Sri Lanka won the third place of Asian Federation Cup men's hockey tournament by beating Kazakhstan. The first half of the match ended while Kazakhstan was leading 1-0. In the second half, Sri Lanka scored 4 goals and the opponent scored only 2 goals. Accordingly, Sri Lanka won the match 4-3. The tournament was held in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Maksad Zokan Bayev tadi. Ya, menuju circle D, kita saksikan.
The police beat Army in the Inter-Club League Rugby tournament organised by the Sri Lanka Rugby Federation. By the end of the first half, Police was leading 25-0. The match ended by giving the victory to Police with a score of 25-7. The match was played at the Bambalapitiya Police grounds. The mountain bicycle race organised by the Mulla Area Independent Sports Club under the direction of the Sri Lanka Cycle Association took place today. It was held near Malabe Chandrika Kumar Tungabhavat and covered 60 kilometers through the roads of marshlands. 50 cyclists took part in the competition. Sandhu Chamika of Fon B Cycling Club won the race.
Well, we did witness a series of sporting events, and finally on sports news, we shift to basketball and we have an update for you on the Avant Super Cup Tournament 2022.
The Group A matches of the tournament are played at Colombo Sugathasasa Indoor Stadium. The first women's match was played between Air Force and Blues team. The first half of the match ended with giving leads to Blues team with a score of 36-18. In the second half, they scored 35 and Air Force scored 37. Accordingly, Blues won the match by 71-45. The B Group matches are played at Royal College Colombo Indoor Stadium. The first match was played today between Buffaloes and OSCC team. The Buffaloes were leading 32-23 by the end of the first half. In the second half, Buffaloes team scored 35 while the opponent scored 28. Accordingly, Buffaloes team won the match 67-51.
Prima Kotumi, Pantamai.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Do just tomorrow at the very same time. Stay safe. Good night.